You know, some dates are just numbers on a calendar, but others, they become scars, dates that get etched into a family's history forever. Today, we're going to talk about one of those dates, and a story that kicks off on what seemed like a totally perfect spring day.
So, picture this. Cascais, Portugal. It's the morning of April 17th, 1988. There's this gentle spring lightness in the air that, when you look back, just feels like a cruel joke. For the Fernandes family, it was just another Sunday, but it would be the very last day of their life as they knew it.
For Evo Fernandes, who is a really important figure in RENAMO, that's the Mozambican resistance movement, it was a day for comfort. He'd just gotten back from a pretty tough trip and was just sinking back into that simple, easy ritual of a Sunday with his family.
And that's what's so heartbreaking about it all, right? The absolute normalcy of it. The day was just filled with the usual sounds of a family at home. No one, absolutely no one, had any idea that this ordinary Sunday was the edge of a cliff, the very end of their family's peace.
April 17th, 1988. Okay, I really want you to burn that date into your memory, because to get what happens next, we have to do something a little weird. We have to jump back in time to the exact same day 5 years earlier.
April 17th, 1983. 5 years to the day. The calendar pages had turned, sure, but in the world that Ivette Fernandes lived in, this date was already soaked in blood.
To really understand why this date matters so much, we need to talk about a man named Orlando Cristina. He was the Secretary General of RENAMO right before Evo Fernandes, and his story, well, it casts this long, dark shadow over our entire timeline.
Cristina was a different breed of man, a really seasoned operative. People said he had this cold, searching gaze. He was someone who knew how to navigate the incredibly dangerous world of African politics and proxy wars. And well, he was a man who made enemies.
And on the night of April 17th, 1983, those enemies found him. As he and his wife were lying in bed, a single shot was fired out of the darkness, straight through a simple mosquito net. It was a cold, calculated hit. And get this, the suspicion immediately fell on an internal rival, which just goes to show you the kind of brutal conflicts that were simmering inside RENAMO itself.
So let's connect the dots. Orlando Cristina is murdered on April 17th, 1983. Just 2 months later, RENAMO's leader, Afonso Vlacama, picks Evo Fernandes to be his successor. Evo literally steps into a dead man's shoes, inheriting a job defined by violence, on a date that would turn out to be a chilling omen.
Okay, so let's jump back to that spring evening in Cascais. 5 years have now passed. The sun has set on April 17th, 1988. The family's quiet day is winding down, and Evo is getting ready to head out for the night.
He tells his wife, Ivette, that he's off to a dinner meeting at a local restaurant. But the meeting was with a guy named Alexander Xavier Chagas, and Ivette had a really bad feeling about him. She deeply distrusted him, and she even suspected he had connections to the Mozambican Secret Service.
As he's heading for the door, he says something that will haunt his family for the rest of their lives. He says, "I have something to tell you, see you later." Just casual words, filled with the promise that he'd be back. He said it without even waiting for a reply, which was something he did sometimes, but this time was different. The door clicked shut, and those last words, "see you later," just echoed in the quiet. He would never come back.
And right there, the story shifts. It becomes Ivette's story. The house, which was just filled with warmth and family a few hours ago, is now sinking into this deep, heavy silence. And that casual goodbye starts to change into something absolutely terrifying.
The clock is ticking. Midnight passes. Then 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock. Every minute stretches on forever. You know that feeling. The initial annoyance turns into anxiety, and then that anxiety just curdles into this cold, hard dread. Why hasn't he called? This isn't like him. The questions become a frantic storm in her head. Where could he possibly be? Did something happen at that dinner? The silence of the house starts to feel like an answer itself, a horrifying confirmation that something is terribly, terribly wrong.
So as dawn breaks on April 18th, that agonizing wait just explodes into action. Ivette goes to the police around 7 a.m., but she feels like they aren't taking it seriously enough. So she takes matters into her own hands. She calls the press. She knows she needs to make some noise. And within hours, the news is out. And only then do the judiciary police finally show up at her door. And just like that, it's not a private family crisis anymore. It's a national news story. The disappearance of Evo Fernandes becomes this media firestorm. But for Ivette and her children, it's just the continuation of a waking nightmare.
a nightmare that would finally end with the discovery of his body on April 21st.
When the police finally took her official statement, her words just captured the raw, exhausted reality of her whole ordeal. She told them, "I've been without sleep since the 17th. Since the 17th, looking for my husband." It's such a simple, devastating statement, but it perfectly captures the true cost of that fateful Sunday. A day where one family's world just stopped turning, caught in a tragic and violent echo from 5 years before.